Hiya. So, I thought we'd start with a bit of a quick tour of the greenhouse. So these are the Charlotte potatoes, all in buckets as you can see, layered with old compost from last year and fresh stuff that I made in the compost bins, and layer by layer by layer. So as they grow up, they get a second burst, as it were. I planted these in February, around about Valentine's Day, as you can see. They're doing alright. There was one that I was a bit worried about that I didn't think was coming up, but there he is. So we're doing okay with those. Now, funnily enough, at the same time as I did those, I put these in. And these are Desiree main crop spuds. And as I say, I planted those at the same time as the Charlottes back in February. These are leftovers from last year. They were getting a bit straggly and not that great for eating, so I chucked them in, and lo and behold they came up, and they actually came up before the Charlottes. So I was getting a bit worried at one point, but never mind. Then we move on to the main crops, as it were. And there you go. All Desirees. One spud in each bucket. They should get a nice dose. There's no competition, so they get a nice dose of compost, nice dose of nutrition, and they're all coming up quite nicely. Up here. There we go. So, from the left, what we got? Bit of coriander. Then we've got the cabbages, primo cabbages. So I potted those on about a week ago. They're all thriving quite nicely. Then that's the kale, that's caprol. They've been really good for about 3 years now, and clearly showing every sign of continuing to be good. Then we've got a few sprouts ready to go out. I'll let those hang on for another few weeks, but I'll probably put them out beginning of May, I would have thought. Nice cage to keep away the pigeons, because I've got 2 families of pigeons nesting in the ivy, and a couple of years ago they pretty much stripped all the brassicas out. And moving on. There we go. Some spring onions. No action yet, no surprise, I only sowed them this morning. Then leeks, because you can't have too many leeks. There we go. They all got potted up last week. Plenty of those. These are some yellow dwarf French beans. I think about 50p from Lidl. They're doing alright. A bit slow to come up, but they're okay. Under these makeshift cloches, I've got some more leeks, another 48, because like I say, you can't have too many. And I put those in about 3 days ago. Some fairly slow starting salad bowl fancy mix, lettuces, they're doing okay. I'll start potting those up next week. Romanesco, there you go, see them popping up. Fun fact about Romanesco, if you watch the first Star Wars, and I mean the first proper Star Wars, you'll see Aunt Beru in Luke's home actually chopping up Romanesco, because they do look kind of alien. A really rubbish selection of sweet peas. 3 came up out of that lot. There you go, there's the third one. Going down, here we go. Some nasturtiums, not popped up yet, I only put those in a few days ago. More sweet peas, needless to say, cheapo ones from Lidl. Bob's your uncle, they're all doing great. Sweet Williams. Calendula, saved from last year's seeds. French marigolds, doing absolutely nothing. There's one stray calendula in there. I was going to pull it out, and as I was thinking about pulling it out, the seed husk actually fell off the leaf, and it was like it was saying to me, don't chuck me out, so I couldn't bear to. Second sowing of broad beans, first lot are in the garden, we'll see those in a minute. But they're all doing alright. Going down again. Yeah, those are Crassula ovula, I think it is, money plant. The thing about these is that I actually took those as cuttings last year Completely forgot about them, no water, and they overwintered in the greenhouse, looked sad as anything. I chucked some water on, a bit of fresh compost, and I'll be giving those away to anybody who wants them later on. Sunflowers, mixture of red and yellow, nothing happening there yet because I only sowed those about 5 days ago. And down the bottom, see those? Sweet corn. Sweet corn, incredible F1. I always do the F1s with corn because I never have any luck with the old heritage varieties. I don't know if you can see. Let's see if we can find one. There we go. Right, let's try that one. Excuse me while we just zoom in a minute. There you can see. There they are, sticking their heads up. I actually soaked these first, pre-chitted them, and all bar one had amazing roots on them, so fingers crossed they're doing alright. Okay, and let's just do some complicated zooming out stuff. Here we go. Right, I'm going to stop for a minute and then move out into the garden. Onions, and the same to you, missus. There we go. Sets. These are Styron. Again, after several years of trying various things, I always tend to find that the Styrons from sets are probably the most successful. I've tried seeds, I've tried Stuttgarters, I've tried all sorts, and these. Yeah, there's about 250 in there, I think. Complete with an extraordinary rhubarb that's Victoria, which I've already had one crop off, and it's just going bonkers. In little rows. See those? You see what the sticks are? 3 rows of parsnips. Had fantastic parsnips last year. So fingers crossed again this year. Put those in about a week ago, so nothing much happening yet. Although I did spot one sticking its head up the other day. Down here, kohlrabi. Odd little vegetable, slightly alien looking. Fantastic things though, really good, grated in salads, going really well with mashed potatoes. So I've got a few in there interspersed with a handful of rather pathetic spring onions, and I've got some more on the go in the greenhouse. Over there, you can see those? That's beetroot. That is actually last year's beetroot. I pulled them up, put them into store. These are the ones I haven't got used yet, and I whipped them out of the compost they were in store, chucked them back in the ground to get a bit of juice in them, and I'll use those up in the next couple of weeks in the kitchen, I think. Speaking of leaving things, look at that. It's the remainders of last year's leeks. Musselburgh, you can't go wrong with Musselburgh, never let you down. And interestingly, these are really cheap, 99p. I think they're a Country Value brand, which doesn't really inspire too much confidence. But again, they've been absolutely brilliant. So those are the last of those. Apart from this guy, which we'll come to in a moment. There he is. That leek is 3 years old. Because you can actually do them cut and come again, rather than hike the whole thing out. Just get your secateurs out, chop it off at the ground, and it'll re-sprout. But I'm going to leave that one now because I know it's tough, hardy, what have you, and I'm going to let him run to seed, and then I won't have to actually buy any seeds next year. Okay, back in a minute. Right, here we go again. So now, what we've got here, go on, you know what it is, broad beans. So this is the first lot, and I did those in the beginning of February, I suppose. Popped them out about 3 weeks ago. Of course the weather then turned cold, so they've not done as well as I would have hoped, but they're taking off alright. All strung up to hold them up. I did try staking them properly last year, but they didn't really like it, so I've done this wonderful woven string thing interspersed with those. See if you can see some. There you go. Beetroot. The beetroot is Cylindra, which I've never had any trouble with, but always been really reliable. And there, as the name suggests, cylindrical. So nice and easy to peel and slice. And they store brilliantly, and they come out massive. So there you go. Broad beans and beets. Right, got a raised bed. Just pull out a bit so you can see it. There you go. Very technical. A couple of old scaffolding planks and a bit of pallet lined with old compost bags. Leftover onions and a few radish in there as well. Let's see if we can show you some radish. There we go. Yeah, look, doing alright. Right, garlic. No idea what variety it is. It actually came from the supermarket, courtesy of Sainsbury's. I've tried doing the proper ones. I think I did Germador a couple of years ago and they were absolutely rubbish. So ever since then I've done just bog standard cheapo stuff from the supermarket, and it's been a lot more reliable and always get a decent crop out of it. Okay, parade of peas. That's the first ones, grown in an old pallet collar, and these are the ones you get from the supermarket. They're the bigger dried peas, you know, the ones you have for mushy peas with a little tablet of stuff inside them. They actually grow really nicely as regular peas if you pick them while they're still young, before they get too fat and floury. Absolutely gorgeous. So there's those, and as we go around, a couple of old rubbish bins that I grew potatoes in a couple of years ago, perfectly adequately. Another pallet collar with peas in. 3 random blackthorns in pots over the back. A second sowing of peas, and they'll get staked up in another couple of weeks, I imagine. The big white thing is a piece of old polythene, what would you call it, that I'm actually using to try and keep down the massive daisy things that have been growing there for about 20 years. They're beautiful, but they spread like mad and they absolutely smell like a cat's toilet. So I'm going to try and take those out this year bit by bit, but they're beyond digging, so I'm just going to have to try and kill them off. Off we go again. There's the onion bed, and you'll see over the far side, there we go. Right, so some more buckets with another sowing of peas in. The box has got a few leftover potatoes, Desirees again, and in that wooden box thing there are 3 old flower buckets, you know, standard Morrison things, with carrots in. 2 Sean carrots. Never had any luck with carrots really, but I had the seeds, so I thought, well, I'll give them a go. Alright, that's it for now. See you later.